Here we go. Yeah, here comes Franca. All right. So I'm placing my hands on my heart, closing my eyes, taking that deep breath of love and gratitude. So grateful for this time to come together with these beautiful souls, to be the two or more gathered in the name and the nature of love. Grateful for this opportunity and our willingness to discover A Course in Miracles written in our hearts and bring it forth into our lives. Grateful for our willingness to shine the light on any and all blocks to love. They're all just going to be dissolved and resolved back to the root source from which they came. And we're grateful to have all of the earthly and heavenly support while we come together, both with the technology, with the insights, with the heart opening, with all the blessings that we receive in all areas of our life. We're so very grateful. And we're grateful that we get to share the benefits of this work that we're doing and the love that we are with everyone because we are one with them. In grace and gratitude, we let it be. And so it is. Amen. So good to see you all. So we're in chapter 18, The Passing of the Dream, section 1, The Substitute Reality. Would anybody like to begin our sharing?
I'll start.
All right, thank you, Linda.
I don't know what I'm going to say for sure. Last night I took a few notes. Let's see if I really feel the same way about anything. I was looking at paragraph 4. I always love these beginning reads, this big chunk of, I don't know, laying out the overview of the plan of the chapter, whatever, it's just really, I find it less convoluted in reading usually, honestly. So paragraph 4. So what I marked here in my book was, you who believe that God is fear made but one substitution. It has taken many forms because it is the substitution of illusion for truth, of fragmentation for wholeness. It has become so splintered and subdivided and divided again over and over that it is now almost impossible to perceive it once was one, and still what it was. That one error which brought truth to illusion, infinity to time, and life to death, was all you ever made. Your whole world rests upon it. Everything you see reflects it, and every special relationship that you have ever made is part of it. That's big stuff. And when I read that, I immediately wrote down, that's it, the tiny mad idea. It's the moment when the Son of God remembered not to laugh. And every upset, every othering, every efforting, everything just mirrors that. And the profoundness of this course is just the undoing, unpacking everything that I really think, effect, and go back to cause, that it's this. It's a reflection of a recreation of that tiny mad idea. Bottom line, every special relationship, every upset. So in 7, line 4, inward is sanity, insanity is outside you. You but believe it is the other way. The truth is outside and error and guilt within. Your little senseless substitutions, touched with insanity and swirling lightly off on a mad course like feathers dancing insanely in the wind. Oh, so poetic. Have no substance. And on and on and on. Cause and effect. You know, it's the same as up here, it's just reinforcing. I am the maker of the dream. There's nothing out there. You know, and up at the top of that paragraph too, the original error rising to frighten you in sentence 1. So 2 more points and then I'll get out of the way here. 12, whom God has called should hear no substitutes. Their call is but an echo of the original error that shattered heaven. And I really underlined boldly, shattered heaven. And it brought tears to my eyes when I read that. It went all the way down. You know, my voice is cracking now. It's what a powerful 2 words, 2 symbols. And I know them well. So in 13, beginning in that first sentence, to the most holy function this world contains, it is the only one that has no limits and reaches out to every broken fragment of the sonship with healing and uniting comfort. This is offered you in your holy relationships. And then what I wrote down on that was the most holy function is, i.e., forgiveness, extending throughout all time and eternity, affecting absolutely all parts of the sonship. Benefits when I am willing. So that's what I got. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Linda. Yeah, I loved all of the visuals in this section. You know, like the fragmented heaven, and one of the visuals I got reading the last sentence of paragraph 3 and then the first few sentences of paragraph 4 where you read, what came to me was I just like how we have to look deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and try and figure things out on our own without God. And it just reminded me of, like, you know, how we look at all of our body parts separately, not as one. And then we look at like the atoms separately and the mass separately. And it just made me laugh because this tomorrow actually is my son's birthday, but we had a little party for him on Sunday. And I bought him this t-shirt, and it reminded me of this section when I read it. The t-shirt said, "Never trust an atom. They make up everything." And I thought that is funny on so many levels, because it's the illusion, it's the total illusion that we're these tiny little atoms, you know, all separate. It just cracked me up. It just cracked me up. And then the one part where he says, oh, here it is, the sanity, in paragraph 8. Let them all go. These are all the judgments of separation and comparison. Let them all go, dancing in the wind, dipping and turning till they disappear from sight, far, far outside you, and turn you to the stately calm within, where in holy stillness dwells the living God you never left and who never left you. The Holy Spirit takes you gently by the hand and retraces with you your mad journey outside yourself, leading you gently back to the truth and safety within. I'm like, oh man. So I just love all of the visual cues in this um, section. So anybody have anything that they would like to share on what's been already said, or something else in a section, a paragraph that you read, something spoke to you maybe? It was
Well,
a
I
longer one. Go ahead, Robyn.
uh, this this is very short, but I thought it was beautiful. Everything in the poetry with the feathers and dancing, um, and I noted that they put stately in front of calm. I mean, and they put holy in front of stillness. So that just, you know, it's just such a lovely teaching, this quiet and stillness and silence. And um, yeah, so for the time being, I just loved it all. I was like, stop underlining, Robyn. There's no need. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Robyn. Yeah, I think I have stuff underlined in almost every single paragraph.
Yeah.
Who else would like to share? Go ahead, Penelope.
Thank you, Linda. Well, thank you both, Lindas. Thank you first, Linda, because I read it on Saturday evening, I think, and I just quickly scanned it before I came on the call, and I just like the way Linda talked through it in the initial part, the first part of the call, and now the bit that's actually really I'm homing in now is the beginning of paragraph 8. Let them all go dancing in the wind, dipping and turning till they disappear from sight, far outside of you. I couldn't have probably honed in on much of these probably from about Thursday. I've been doing so much forgiveness work, and it's really taken some forgiveness work to get to where I am right now today. And the final piece came this morning. And this first part of paragraph 8, it's just like really, just feels so beautiful and just such a relief to read. I'll see if I can share this with you without making it a lengthy amount of information, but I've probably mentioned previously on previous calls that I have a sister that's just 11 months older than me, and she's not spoken to me in almost 28 years, but would never give me a reason. But prior to that, even when we were very young, she used to more or less say that my parents treated me better than her. And then gradually, pretty much I think she learned it from my father. She actually became quite an abusive bully, very mean, very cruel with me. And she would, for long periods of time, maybe, or sometimes it was just short periods, days, weeks, months, years, wouldn't speak to me. And when I was doing the Stocks Playing Small retreat with Jennifer, just in June, I said to Jennifer that I've still got this fear of bumping it, running into her somewhere. And fear of how I deal with it, fear of the same feelings coming back again. And it's interesting because in the 28 years, I've not actually ever run into her anywhere. I only ever occasionally saw her at my parents', but even that I stopped going if she was there because she just would completely ignore me. And the last time I'd actually seen her was almost 13 years ago at my late father's funeral. So although I was asking Jennifer this question, I never actually anticipated it happening, but I knew there was something that I still needed to heal. And Jennifer at the time said to me that I needed to forgive myself for the very first time when my sister would have been abusive or a bully or whatever it might have been. And although I'd done forgiveness work with it before, I'd never actually thought of it like that and forgive myself for that point when it first began. And I actually don't have a memory of when that actually first began. And so I did the work at the time. And then Thursday of last week, I ran into her. Now, I don't know if she saw me. I recognised her and recognised it was a husband with her because our eyes connected. So even though I was actually wearing a face mask, I was going between shops at the time. Possibly he recognised me, I don't know. And that triggered in me just a huge, huge amount of trauma. Just that one, even though she possibly didn't see me, from Thursday onwards, everything was surfacing. And it has taken many, many forgiveness letters. And some of the first pieces, I was thinking, well, maybe I still need to do work around the initial time when it began. And I did some more work around that. But what I also recognised in the first part of the work that I was doing was that I'd pretty much relied on not running into her. And basically I'd been managing and coping with it. And it was the only way I knew how to deal with it, was to just somehow just not be around her. And she lived in a totally different town to me, lived in a totally different, lived and worked in a totally different town. And I realised, having seen her, that there's a new store opened up in our town, and she works for this company. And although she's always worked, or for however many in more recent times, worked for this company in a different town, my husband and I had actually been waiting for this store to open up. It's a soft furnishing company, and we knew who was going to be managing it. But it seems, I actually Googled the information, that she's now actually co-managing this business. And for me, then that brought up the possibility, the potential that this could be something that's going to happen now that I will bump into her. So I was just desperate to get through the forgiveness work, just anything, because the pain was so immense. And I'd always thought that the pain was related to the fact that she just would not have anything to do with me, and had been pretty cruel over it, wouldn't give me a reason. And so even when my late mother when my mother was still alive, she'd want to tell me things about her family. And my sister had stopped me even seeing my niece and nephew. I had no relationship with my niece and nephew. And even though my mother thought I should know what was happening with them, it was just so painful for me to know, because I couldn't have contact with them. And even if I asked my mother not to tell me, she would still insist on telling me. And it was almost like being tortured. And so I recognised that when this kind of, the worst of this had first began, when she stopped speaking to me, my life was unravelling. It was the beginning of my diagnosis with PTSD. I'd been 15 years undiagnosed, but I was also 6 months later diagnosed with, I had primary reflexes present, and I went on a programme of movements for over 2 years to heal that. Basically, it's a neurological condition. I could barely walk at times eventually with it. And so my life was unravelling, and I recognised, as I did this forgiveness work, the recognition that I saw that my life was a failure in comparison to hers, because hers was becoming a success. She'd married, she went on to have children, clearly has had a successful career. And so by Saturday, I'd kind of got some peace with it and thought, wow, I've got through it. And for the first time, I was able to recognise that I actually loved her. And all I'd ever wanted was her to be my friend. That's all I'd ever wanted. But for whatever the reason, it wasn't possible. And then yesterday, whatever was surfacing again, and I knew I needed to do more work. I've not been sleeping with it, and in the early hours of this morning, that kind of, it was beginning to surface much more. And so this morning I did another forgiveness letter. And this time what I realised was that because I actually believed that because as my life was unravelling and I saw myself as being a complete and utter failure, I had made meaning of the fact that when my sister stopped speaking to me, I was that failure. And that the association with my sister was, I was that failure. And so every time, I realise now, having seen her on Thursday, that's what it triggered. And every time she was ever mentioned within the family, that's what it was triggering. It wasn't just triggering the hurt of her not speaking to me, it was triggering the hurt that I was a failure. And in the initial stages of the forgiveness work, I thought it was just clearly I was just doing, it was the compare and despair. And then I realised it wasn't compare and despair. My association with my sister was, I had to be that failure because that was why she stopped having anything to do with me. And it's interesting because then as I did more work this morning, I realised that because I'd struggled to understand why if I was around people that were successful, it could either bring up jealousy or envy or this same feeling. And when this same feeling is triggered, it's like a really intense, it's almost like it's like being tortured inside. It's the pain is so, kind of like deep. And then that's when I got it this morning. And I don't know if I'm explaining it well enough how I worded it in this letter this morning, but literally my association is I am that failure and that was I'd made that meaning that was reinforced basically by my sister's response to me. So when I read these words, let them all go dancing in the wind, dipping and turning till they disappear from sight, far, far outside of you. I mean, it just feels such a blessing, a gentle, gentle blessing. And just to say that the one thing to say is if anybody that's doing the forgiveness work and you're struggling with something, just keep delving because you will get there. And as I've proved this last few days, I got there in the end, and it's been bloody painful, but I got there. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Penelope. What a beautiful birthday gift to yourself, to allow yourself to go through that, like to experience every emotion, every thought that was coming up, and just be persistent and know that that's not the truth of you, that you are a failure, that it's just a belief that you accepted, that you felt that your sister put on you and you accepted it.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank you, Linda. And I laugh about this, but because she's only 11 months older, it means that for about a month each year we're the same age, and this is the time when we're the same age. And I used to when we were children, and I didn't do it in a nasty way. I loved the fact that I had this sister that was just 11 months older than me, and I used to tease her, but she hated the fact that we were the same age for a month of the year. And I just thought how ironic we're in this time frame.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Lots of healing coming up. Lots of intensity. So beautiful. Thank you for your courage and your strength. Who else would like to share? Anything from the chapter, or what anybody else has already shared, or something that's going on in their life? Go ahead, Lesley.
First, I just want to say, Penelope, yes, thank you for sharing. I can only imagine how painful that is for you. My sister and I, she's 12 and a half months older than me, and we're actually very close. So I just can't imagine how painful that is. And yet I know it's not your problem, it's her problem. You know, she's the one that's, I mean, I don't know anything. And it's interesting reading that sentence again, let them all go, meaning let all the judgments go dancing in the wind. Scott has a brother, Sean, he's the youngest of 6 kids, and he's disowned the family after both of the parents died. The mom and the dad died. It's like he was part of the family when the parents were alive. And after his dad's funeral, he was like, you know what? Just why don't you all, he got really mad about the will. And trust me, these people were not wealthy. I have no idea why he got so upset about this will. Anyway, he has not talked to us in over 5 years. And I'm just like, for the first couple of years, I would send him Christmas cards. And I mean, because Scott and I have never done anything to him ever. Now, I don't know as far as all of his issues growing up, the youngest of 6 kids, the issues that Sean has carried with him. But Scott is actually doing what this sentence says so well. And I've always accused him of having frozen feelings, like he's not processing it. He needs to deal with it. He's like, honey, what do you want me to do? He doesn't want to talk to me. He's like, I'm open, I'm willing. If he called me up, I would welcome him with open arms. He's like, but I'm respecting him enough to know he doesn't want to talk to me, so I'm just letting it go. And like I said, for a while, I was like, because I'm a 2, and I think there should be something that we can do to help them, you know, get along and be this happy brotherly relationship. And it's actually been very helpful when I've been able to let it go too, because I don't know what anything's for. I don't know anything about their relationship. I think what you said, Penelope, as far as you always wanted to be her friend, and I think you're the younger, just like I'm the young. Kelly's just slightly older than me, especially growing up high school and middle school and all that. I just, you know, she was my older sister. I just want to be part of her group so badly. But the question now is, can you be your own friend? Can you be your best friend? Can I be my best friend? And I think that's what's really important to remember. But back to the reading. I really like this reading. I just am curious of how people apply this reading to their life, because it's like intellectually I can understand what Jesus is saying here, that yes, this is a dream. This coronavirus is some sick dream that we all made up, you know. And I do believe it's not real. And yet, when you get triggered, it really, and like the pain that Penelope just went through, I mean, it feels freaking real. It feels really, really real and really devastating sometimes. And I'm just curious if any of you all have been able to take a step back and say, and I mean, I'm pretty good at checking my perspective. You know, like one of my favorite sayings is, let's get perspective. It's not the tsunami here, you know, because that helps me put things in perspective. But just curious if anybody's able to say, wow, this is just a dream I'm going through. And I mean, I would never say this to anybody who was going through something painful, because that is not helpful at all. Just like Gary Renard and everybody says, you know, we can know it's a dream, but we're not going to throw that in somebody's face. But just as far as for me personally, I can't really think of a time where I was like, okay, Lesley, this is just a dream. Breathe through it. Doesn't mean anything. I just want, has anybody else had that kind of experience? Or
Yeah, I would say for myself, what helps me to deal with this is just a dream, or what's happening with the coronavirus is, first of all, it's a virus is a living being, so I'm one with it, and everything is here to help me. So even the coronavirus is here to help me, and I may not see it all the time, but I do know that it has caused a abrupt shift in you know, several areas of our lives, and has made us take a deeper look, I think, at areas of our life that we at times would have just been, well, we have all this busy work, so we don't have time to pay attention to it. And so I feel that it's helpful in that way. And when I can look at it that way, remembering I don't know what anything is for, but I know that everything is here to help me, no exceptions, then I have to see it as a part of the illusion that is here to wake me up. Does that mean that I would like it to go on forever? Absolutely not, because I am ready for it to be over. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. Mary Rose, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Linda, and hello, everybody. Yeah. Oh, the T-shirt, Linda, never trust an atom. They make up everything. That is so good.
I thought it was pretty funny.
I love that. Double. Yeah. At least, did you? Can I ask you before I share it? Was there more than two meanings for you in that?
Oh yeah, because there's this, the scientific meaning of like atoms make up everything, make up all matter on this planet, in our beings, everything. And then they make up everything like they're making it up. It's the illusion. That's the part that really made me giggle about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that part's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is so hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know that my son would take it that way, but I thought it was funny. It's a mom joke.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I have a few things I wanted to share about related to our conversation today. And Penelope, I think what you shared was really awesome. The transformative power of doing your forgiveness letters. I really appreciated hearing that. And my sons are pretty close in age, like you guys and Lesley. Yeah, when I'm here, when they have conflict, that's been one of the ego hooks for me. And the Sunday talk this week, the Sundays with Spirit Talk with Reverend Myron Jones, she spoke, I don't know how much of the percent was on dealing with being a parent, but it was really helpful. And she said something about how when she could remember that, she wanted that peace is her one goal, simplify it down to that, and that worrying about her son's well-being, the act of worry did not help her. And that's really helpful to me, because I think as a mom and in my work life, caring about people was, to the extent with the ego world, the ego, says, yeah, worry is a great quality. Let's create a lot of illusions with worrying, and you can think you're being a good person because you're worrying. So dismantling that illusion that worry is a good thing and looking at it like, I'm seeing it as, oh, that's ego illusion world. Yeah, in ego illusion world, worry means good, but it means giving up the peace of God. And then back to Reverend Myron, I think one of the ways she tied it in was whenever she'd be worrying, she wasn't able to be actively helping her son, but when she could step into making the peace of God her one goal, and then she could experience her son as the spiritual being with the Christ light in him. And that piercing the veil, that feels really helpful to me. I can conceptualize it like that, shift out of it. And she said something like, when I remember I try to remember what it's like to experience that, him and his Christ light. That's one of the ways to help get off the ego hook. So then circling back to this group, the discussion last week about Lesley's experience with the bank was so good that, and then using the phrase, I can choose peace instead of this. So I was able to use that this week with my sons when they were having a conflict to, I really thought about that story and thought, boy, I really liked that last week, and I'm going to be like Lesley at the bank. I'm going to choose peace. I can be at peace when my sons are having a conflict, when they're not at peace. I can be at peace. That, I can even feel it right now. That feels helpful. I can be at peace when people I love, or even people I don't love, are not at peace. That it's harder when it's somebody that would push the worry buttons, and that feels like a good unhooking from the worry. And I don't know if you have a joke for that, Linda, like the T-shirt, like never trust an atom and make up everything, about unhooking it, Do you have a joke for that one?
I don't have a joke for it. I don't have a joke for it, but I can say that, society as a whole, I can, we believe that worry is a love reaction. Just like when somebody dies, sadness is a love reaction. So worry and sadness don't determine how much you love somebody. So because you don't worry about your sons doesn't mean that you don't love them. It means that you trust that the light of God is within them enough that they are perfect, whole, and complete without you interfering. And that's not the way I feel that the rest of the world kind of sees that. A lot of people they'll say, well, I worry about my son because I love him. But is that true, or is that just a saying that we have believed all of these years? I think it's just a saying. I don't think that worry is a part of love. It's a part of fear, and fear is not a part of love.
Yeah, this is good. Thank you for the way you're wording that, and it feels really truthful, what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's based on what's real. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary Rose.
You're
Franca.
welcome.
Yeah. Go ahead, Franca.
Thank you, everyone, for your powerful shares. And Penelope, thanks for being a demonstration of courage, because you've inspired me to keep searching. Like sometimes I'm afraid to go deeper. And I was almost crying when you were relating what happened to you, because all I could feel was the courage that it took to do that. So thanks for sharing. And I just wanted to say, Linda, when you were saying about worrying, we can relate because of our Italian culture background. I think worry is right beside, my mother, it was right beside my mother's name. Like she worried about everything. And anyway, what has helped me, you had said, for example, if you're worried about your children, to remember the truth of who they are, that they're perfect, whole, and complete. And when I was really concerned, I don't think I reached out to Jennifer personally, but I remember in one of the classes, she talked about affirming that we are all connected to divine guidance. And so when I'm worried about someone in my family, I affirm that they are connected to divine wisdom, which is live streaming 24/7, and that I don't have to fix the problem or the situation, that they have the insight within them to do what is best for them. And so I just wanted to add that thought.
Yeah, thank you, Franca. And there's our forgiveness opportunity too, to forgive ourselves for thinking that they are not perfectly divinely guided. There's our forgiveness opportunity. Thank you for that. Who else would like to share? Yeah, and I think my mother's name, yeah, worry and guilt. They like are hand in hand. On one side is worry, on the other side is guilt.
I forgot about the guilt that comes in with the Catholic faith. Worry, Italian mother, and guilt, Catholic faith. Thank
Exactly. It's so good we can laugh about it, because it is totally insane. Oh my gosh. Who else would like to share?
Well, I would just like to thank Penelope as well. And Penelope, as you spoke, I think we can all feel heartbroken about all of our wounds that kind of come together as we share with each other. And your lesson this morning of being consistent and persistent when there were probably many moments, or for me in my experience, of wanting to give up, or like, I'm really lost now and I'm never going to get back. And so thank you for sharing that and how it works. And that's the beautiful part of your story, is that you hung in there with that pain and upset, and you just did the next step, choosing a tool that works for you, and you stayed with it. So thank you. Yeah. It was beautiful, a beautiful story, even in the pain part, because you brought it up to us and shared the lesson and how God was there, or Spirit was there for you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Robyn. We're all courageous, man, way beyond what we think we are. You know, just taking these courses and trying to apply them to our lives. I know when I've talked to family and friends, you know, and they ask me about what I'm studying, a lot of times they look at me like I have two heads. But they don't go away because they see how I'm demonstrating the love that I'm learning to be through my willingness of applying these teachings. So I don't care if they look at me like I'm crazy, because I know the truth of me, and the truth is that I'm perfect and loving, and I'm having a human experience. So sometimes it's sloppy. Yeah. Amanda, were you raising your hand? Okay. Anybody else want to share anything? Go ahead, Lesley.
I wrote some notes too, and one thing that I really liked in paragraph 7, just that first sentence, when you see something rising that frightens you, say, God is not fear, but love, and it will disappear. And I just thought that was very comforting to remember. God is not fear, but love, and it will disappear. And I just have a cute abundance story to share really quick. My cat's having some problems. He's Sammy, the one that's been peeing inappropriately. I got this new cat, blah, 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 blah. Had to take him to the vet yesterday just to make sure he didn't have a UTI, even though I knew it was behavioral. People that have cats know these things. So he had all the tests done, and to do is basically straight catheterize your cat. They have to be consciously sedated with a little mask. And, and I'm outside in my car for like an hour and a half while he's inside. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but I know it's costing me a lot of money, So, so blah, 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 he's fine. I go in to pay the bill, and I got my Care credit card ready because I knew it's going to be at least 200, I knew it was. So I'm preparing myself so I don't pass out, And she's like, okay, so that'll be $284. And I was like, go, $284. She's like, oh, wait. She's like, oh, I see you have a $250 credit from that study Rue was in, so it'll only be $34. Thank you, Jesus. It was just so funny because Rue had been in, Rue had been in a study for his skin that got canceled, and so the company that had sponsored it, they credited all these people with $250. It was over a year ago. Seriously, I forgot about it 100%. So it was a total gift, and I just thought, you know what? Because it was just, why ever worry about anything? Things just work out, Things just work out, and I was so grateful. It only cost $34. I know for sure he doesn't have a bladder infection now. I can just work on the behavioral thing, and it didn't cost an arm and a leg, and I was very grateful about that. So that was a neat thing that happened. And then just the other quick story. For months now, Scott and I have been wanting to borrow my mom's carpet cleaner. And for months, we just haven't done it, Well, last week, I'm like, I need to get that carpet cleaner. So I was working at home at lunchtime. I just ran over there, and they had just had somebody work on their hot water heater thing. And my dad went down there with me, and something was dripping from what they had done with the hot water heater. They ended up having to call the plumber back, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, had it not been God's perfect timing, because where they kept their cleaner, they would not have seen that drip. And by then the entire carpet was wet. So who knows how bad the damage could have been. And it was just, it almost made me speechless, the whole timing of how the perfection of it, because I'd been thinking of what made me think that day to finally get that carpet cleaner. It can only be God. It can only be God. It's just like Robyn and I call those God moments, Just love them God moments. It just makes you just so grateful and so appreciative of life. And I'm so grateful that everybody in this group can smile about these things and be happy about the $250 credit instead of being the negative complaining person that, well, blah, 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 and the plumber should have done it right the first place. And thank God my mom wasn't like that either. She was just like, oh, thank God you came over and had to borrow that cleaner, So it's just such a more fun way to live. So those are my two little shares.
Yeah, thank you, Lesley. We get the opportunity to be the happy learner.
Yes.
Mary Rose, go ahead.
Yes, Lesley, thank you so much for those. And that second story with the carpet cleaner just lifted my spirit so much. Those kind of stories, God, for me, they're so powerful. They help me to experience grace vicariously, by hearing it, and then also help me to tune into it in my life more. So that's so terrific. I'm glad you were guided to share those today.
Thanks, Mary, because I almost didn't. I'm just like, well, just a couple God moments. They all have them all the time. So I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
But you know what?
And I hope you.
if I don't share
I
them in
was
this
gonna say-
group, I don't share them. So it's fun to
Oh.
share.
Well, I hope you keep them coming, and Robyn too. I love hearing the God movement.
Yep, it helps us to remember to look for them in our own lives. Absolutely.
And Lesley, I feel that when you share those stories, you're lifting us all up, and we're having a God moment together with you. So always bring them forward.
Yep, absolutely. Go ahead, Penelope.
Lesley, as well, the first story about Sammy the cat, that was a beautiful example of you being open to receive as well. Great story for trust and faith, but just you allowed yourself to be open to receive. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's an acquired strength, because so many people are not open to receive. You know, so many of us have grown up with that poverty consciousness, or the belief that money is the root of all evil, or you know, all kinds of crazy false beliefs about abundance and receiving. You know, to give is better than to receive. What a bunch of pucky. I'm so glad we don't have to believe that stuff anymore. We really don't. So that's an acquired strength, being open-hearted, open and willing to receive. Yep,
Well,
crazy people.
I really want to carry that sentence in 8. I think we probably all underlined it. I know several of you, because, and there, I feel like I'm beginning to experience it. But that letting them all go, dancing in the wind, dipping and turning till they disappear from sight, far, far outside of you. I mean, just having, that's such a beautiful little tool. And so I'm just going to write that up and put it on my refrigerator, or some place that's just sweet. So the last sentence, and I mean, in one moment I can be having a God moment, and the next moment I'm dying. So I don't know, and it's getting better and better and better. Fortunately, I can look back at the years and I can tell, oh, I am growing. But in the moment, sometimes it feels like you just need to stop, Robyn. But anyway, the truth, that's putting myself down, so we'll stop that. But the holy relationship that has always been so important for all of us, and mainly the holy relationship with ourselves, that seems to be the block. And just having a difference of opinion with someone in my Quaker meeting, just through silence, I was like, you know, and you're always, just like we come together and you notice the judgment. And I had just given a message out of the silence, and I felt like this person, which we don't usually come back, and I felt attacked. And it may not have had anything to do. And I've been kind of in and out of upset because of just even in that situation. And but it doesn't mean that people sitting in Quaker meeting and they're silent and they're worshiping don't, you know, it comes up and you let it go. So this relationship with ourselves and others, and that beautiful sentence for me in the last paragraph 13, and I think it's 5, it's hard for me to see. The peace of God is given you with the glowing purposes in which you join with your brother, sister. The holy light that brought you and her together must extend as you accepted it. So I guess it's loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, and then being able to be light with when things happen. Um, Especially, I don't know if it happens often, but I was like, well, I'm just not going to go to that meeting anymore. It was a special meeting. And I was, it was before I got up, and I laid there just getting so um, down about it. And then I started my practice, and, I got over it for the time being, and trust that I am moving forward to forgiveness and love and light, and that it will be just as easily as my breath, and just naturally. That's where I feel I've gathered all this information, and I have been practicing, but that I'm really ready to take that, or I desire to take that, every moment, get calm and quiet and peaceful and still, whether I'm sitting or I'm out in the world, or just, and I really want that to be a part of, so I guess it will just be practicing and practicing and practicing. And one day it'll happen. I truly believe that. So we'll see. Thank you. It must be time, Linda. I'm sorry.
It's happening now, Robyn.
Yes,
It's
it
already
is.
happening. I mean, I can see it in every single one of us, that we are growing constantly, being open and willing to accept the truth of what we are. And I think he speaks about it so beautifully in paragraph 10, right in the middle. He says, and as he loves you, meaning God, so you are. You are not joined together in illusion, but in the thought so holy and so perfect that illusions cannot remain to darken the holy place in which you stand together. I mean, that's just like, brother and sister, own your power, because you are God. You are God. God is within you. You are within God. There is no possibility for you to be anything less than love. Every time we believe that we're not, or somebody else is not, it's not the truth. So it's happening. And we're becoming more and more open to receive that truth and see it within ourselves as we see it within each other. So I thank you all for being the spiritual warriors that you are, willing to be strong and courageous in this world. My answered prayer. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share before we close? So let's stay with, I'm liking going through the chapters like this. So let's stay with chapter 18, section 2, which is the basis of the dream. And I'm going to read from my workbook lesson today, which is, it's a review lesson, number 217, which is, I am not a body, I am free, I am still as God created me. It can be but my gratitude I earn. Gratitude and appreciation go hand in hand. If you appreciate something, you have gratitude for it. You will not have gratitude for something you do not appreciate. We truly recognize our brothers when we have full appreciation for them. And I feel like that's true for us too. When we have gratitude for ourselves, when we appreciate ourselves, that grows exponentially. To have this, we must see our brothers with the vision of Christ. It is only the love in our brothers to which our appreciation is due. And the love in our brothers is the love within us. As we learn to fully appreciate our brothers, we learn to appreciate the truth in ourselves. We learn to appreciate our unity with our source and the gifts we receive from our source. This world was made because of lack of appreciation for God's gifts. Lack of appreciation is rejection. Having rejected God's gifts, we believe ourselves to be deprived. And so everyone who comes to this world is searching to fill the emptiness made by rejecting God's gifts. As we learn to see the treasure house of love in our brothers and fully appreciate it, we find what we have been looking for. We find ourself, capital S. Once again, our hearts are filled with gratitude for the reality of love has returned to our awareness. Salvation is simply the release from the belief that it is possible to be without love. Gratitude is inevitable as we learn to accept the love we are. Salvation comes through a willingness to let go of separation. The miracle or true perception is given to us by the Holy Spirit as we are willing to receive it. My true self is always present in my mind, waiting to be recognized. It is my willingness to have an open mind and be open to a change in perception that brings me the experience of deep peace, love, and joy that my true self has to offer. Many thanks are to the self who has the gifts to give. My thanks are also to my willingness to be open to receive these gifts. I must be open to the truth to receive the truth. As my willingness to open to the truth grows, my gratitude grows. I value the truth more and more as I am willing to open to it more and more. My focus now is on being willing to receive God's gifts. God does the rest. I left Pathways after my ordination with such gratitude. I am grateful for my fellow ministers who shared in those incredible 9 days with me. These women will forever be my sisters, the sisters of my heart. I feel gratitude towards my facilitators and Robert and Mary, and will always love them. I spent nearly the whole day at Chicago Midway Airport and watched an awesome display of kindness, calmness, courtesy, and helpfulness by employees coping with passengers who are frustrated with new security measures. I was inspired and grateful to see these angels. I was grateful to fellow passengers who helped pass those long hours waiting by sharing warm stories of travel and family. I am grateful to the hotel clerk and the waitress who served me supper and made me feel welcomed and at home. I am grateful to Spirit, who is like a light dancing in my mind. The more grateful I feel, the more I am aware of Spirit's presence. The more I say yes to Spirit and allow him to guide me, the more accessible he seems. My gratitude fills me with joy. I am grateful to myself for this joy, but it is my gratitude I earn. Amen. Thank you, everybody. So
Bye,
Thank
good.
everyone.
you, Linda.
Thank
Bye.
Thank you, Linda.
Linda.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye
Have a
Thank
for
you
good
for your
week.
shares.
Bye.
now.